Yeah, hi everyone. It's Billy here again from 47 Wolves. All I am. I hope you're all well and journeying through your life in peace and happiness. I welcome aboard Martin again from Arcanum Vita. Welcome, Martin, and looking forward to our chat again today.
Billy, thanks for having us, Billy. It's good to be back, and yeah, it's been warming up again, and yeah, interesting days ahead. Interesting days ahead, but always good to be here, Billy, and look forward to
Excellent.
our chat
Very good,
as
very good.
always.
So we've got
Billy,
we obviously predominantly talk about the new moon coming up on the I think it's the 3rd of September in Australia or Queensland time anyway. Yeah, so you want to shed some light on what's coming
yeah,
up or
totally. Well, we got the new moon coming up on the 3rd of September is in Virgo, so it's a Virgo new moon. It's at 11 degrees of Virgo, which 11 degrees is a bit of it's an Aquarian kind of degree that's, rules by Uranus. So there's a degree of instability about it. There's vibrationally speaking, like it sort of augurs change. It's a moon that sort of, I guess, has a liberational flavor or quality to it. Sort of just to break from the old routine of things or break away from, what old systems or old structures that might be limiting or outdated or that type of thing. So 11th degree kind of, spells a bit of change and a bit of, I guess, movement towards something better. But yeah, and in Virgo, so we're in Virgo season now. So, like that's your, I don't know, time to set your intentions, time to, make space, clear clutter. Virgo's organization. It's our daily routines, our daily sort of habits. Virgo focuses on health and focuses on sort of, I guess, our daily, daily lifestyle practices and that type of thing. But yeah, it's coming up to solstice now. Like equinox, I mean. So
equinox.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're at that point where the year's now unfolding and the sun's back and we're getting a bit of life force again. So really, coming into Virgo, it's time to, I guess, clarify, focus, set our intentions, and get things rocking. But a nice flavor to kick it off with this 11-degree moon. So things, old stale things are gonna get a bit of a shake up. Sort of,
Beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
moving forward. Yeah,
I
but
was I was reading, Martin, that the Libra's a bit more stability, so it's a stable sign compared to some of the chaos that we've been getting. Is that
yeah,
would that be fair?
Virgo, sorry, but yeah, well,
Virgo, yeah, yeah.
Venus is in Libra though, so it does,
Sorry, I meant
yeah,
Virgo, yeah.
Venus. No, that's okay, Billy, that's okay. But yeah, well, actually, I was going to say, like, we probably it might be a bit early to say we're moving away from the chaos in a way because like if you look at this, this is an Aquarian kind of vibration to it, and interestingly, that Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So like if we look at Mercury's aspect to the new moon, it's in square to Uranus. So this moon actually does have a little bit of instability in it again. So like I think it might be fair to say, Billy, that like we might not get a very stable run for a little while at least, only because I think if you look at the overall energetics of it, like we're at the end of this sort of 35-year Saturn Neptune cycle, and heading into next year, probably if you look at the American election, November, even just the way that everything's unfolding up until next year when we do get this new cycle coming through with Saturn and Neptune in Aries instead of Capricorn. There's this, if you look at 35 years of fixation around structure and form that we've had whilst in this cycle of Capricorn, that's got to kind of be dislodged or shaken up or moved or kind of, released from its old holding pattern so that these new forms can come through. So like, on one level, it doesn't mean we're going to absolutely have chaos or, bedlam, but there is this encouragement, I guess, from the universe to shake free from old structures and kind of not be too complacent or too stuck in old ways of things and that sort of stuff. But it's not by any means chaos. It's more, I would call it a degree of I guess liberation from old structures, but it's how we handle it that's important, I guess, is because with this type of fluxing energy, it's going to have its toll on the nervous system. We do need to be a bit flexible. We're going to be going through experience of precipitous change, so to speak. So that's where the mindset that we develop or what we cultivate is important, where we can kind of approach a future confidently and positively, and be a little bit flexible to kind of embrace change and embrace new things along the way, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
but it
that perception's really important, isn't it? Like
it
our
is.
viewpoint and how we view very, whether it's globally or locally within us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, how we perceive that has a huge impact on our health in all aspects, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Billy.
And
Yeah.
particularly our mental health. If it's, oh, here we go again, and like, if you read too much news or listen to too much
Oh,
news, it can have such a negative impact on us. It's nice to be
yeah,
across it all, and not put
yeah,
your head in the sand. But it's nice to be aware and have that consciousness. But at the same time, you
yeah.
don't want to dive too deep into it. So
Oh God,
yeah.
no. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it'd be almost they should have a health warning on the news. Warn the following show contains disturbing and potentially mind-altering, experiences. But like it is, the news. It's important that we, I guess, like you said, like because Neptune's so strong and so pivotal at the moment, like things like the media, things like the news, like things like just the general collective information that's out there. It's important to remember that, or put it in perspective, I guess, is rather than let it be, that which determines our reality, just see it as an aspect of reality, for better or worse or whatever, but realize that, it doesn't determine how it's going to be. Like we still have this, opportunity to kind of respond creatively or respond constructively, or just respond, appropriately, like, and not buy into it too much or not be too affected by it. Just sort of nurture and cultivate our own platforms of stability and our own platforms of sort of communication in a way too. Like, it's yeah, in many ways, the collective mindset, um, you know, doesn't necessarily dictate what the way things are,
Yes.
like, and that's important. Like that idea or that principle of mind, where like one mind is a certain degree of magnetism, but a million minds all thinking the same thought at once has a greater impact on how things really look. And just the challenge is not to participate in that collective mind, to your detriment. In other words, like it's
Yeah.
important
And it's
to
very.
participate.
I felt while you were saying that, Martin. It's very subjective time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like it is always. But
yeah,
sometimes when we're like, I'll just use a simple analogy like a temperature. So we're Queensland here. We're coming into some warmer weather, and even though it's technically still winter,
yep,
and you might go, oh, geez, it's hot. But it's hot compared to what? If you're living in
yeah,
the Sahara Desert, then 28, 29 degrees Celsius is cool. Or if you're living
yeah,
in New Zealand or Canada, it's, oh yeah, that's really hot. So it's
yeah.
all subjective, isn't it? And
It is.
I see
Yeah,
the events of the world and around us to be that, and that's where that perspective comes in, and it's very important. Sometimes
yeah,
we can see events unfolding and think, oh, here we go again, or it's still happening, or it's bad, and all this. But compared to what? Like, we may not see that things are starting to improve. As it
yeah,
does unfold, like you say,
exactly.
if
Yeah,
if we're sort of it's almost a compounding effect. So because of the last few years of the intensity of the world, with COVID and everything else, it's easy to get into that spiral of, here we go, and
yeah,
to be able to pull back from that and have a holistic sort of perspective and viewpoint. I think that's really important, to
yeah.
not
I agree.
yeah to
Yeah, I agree.
not take every event as an isolated good or bad, but just yeah.
Keep it as, like, yeah, see it in perspective. Like, I agree. Yes, it is a very subjective world, and it's all relative. Like it's all relative, like you say. Like, I mean, it's hotter than it was, so therefore it's hot because it was cooler. Like, but I mean, in December, like today's going to be cool because it's going to be stinking hot then. Like, so it's sort of. It's this gradual, it's realizing that things are gradually evolving and gradually moving, and we can get caught in a subjective, kind of mindset in relation to things. But like you're right, yeah, keep your awareness, keep your wits about you essentially, and I suppose it's that, yeah, it is that ability to use discernment, or use, which I suppose is relevant to Virgo now. New moon in Virgo, it's about discernment. It's about sort of, clarity and perspective. Like we can get caught up in the subjective, maelstrom of collective doom or collective misinformation or collective whatever, but it's the Virgoan capacity, or it's our ability to discern, or our ability to provide clarity in our perception, or at least align in some way with our sense of orientation or intention, that sort of keeps us out of that. If you look at the polarity, that Piscean sort of abyss of subjective peril, so to speak, it's the Virgo that gives us clarity and precision. So yeah, we in many ways that's one of the main, I guess, main energetics unfolding now, is to sort of hopefully put us in a position of greater clarity and greater awareness in the face of whatever is out there, or whatever's being thrust upon us. Yeah, and thank God, there's plenty of it, isn't there? Like, I mean, yeah, and I mean, this is the thing too. Like, if you look at this new moon, Neptune does figure very strongly in it. Like Neptune's quite, in quite a hard sort of challenge to Mars. That Mars itself is in, this sort of weird angle to Pluto. So like, in many ways, on a collective level, we're gonna be probably challenged with discerning what's right or wrong from a fairly, I guess, large, forceful kind of projection of some kind. Like, and I mean, on a collective level, on an individual level, like, it's, there's a great motivation there to sort of move out beyond what is now, to move past. There might be a sort of series of events or an energetic impulse that comes into our life, that where we go, look, what, I'm just going to apply my will to this. I'm going to sort of, look beyond the subjective determination that is my life, and actually be kind of objective in what's going on, and make some new ground. But yeah, it is important that we, I suppose, exercise a little bit of discernment over the next month, because the chance is there, the opportunity is there to get a little bit kind of sidelined, I suppose.
Yeah. So moving forward, like the rest of September, what do you see there astrologically?
Yeah, well, it's I made a couple of notes. I mean, this is, again, not to panic, but like, it's sort of, it's really interesting. Like, when I was looking at the overall chart, and if we do look at it on a collective level, like, it's a precipitous month. Like, Uranus figures very strongly in it. Mercury's very, kind of challenged by Uranus here. You got Pluto and Mars in a very difficult aspect. Like, there's this. What sort of springs to mind is sort of some sort of breakdown along the lines of communication. Like, I don't know. Like, here's the classic. Like, okay, this is when the global finance systems of exchange go down, and everyone goes into this global hysterical panic over things. And like, if you put worst case scenario, like, everyone's been talking about such things for ages, but like, if you look at this energetic, this is where we could potentially, in its worst possible case scenario, experience challenges to communication, which causes some kind of opportunity for systems and structures to go out of balance or go out of function. And like, I mean, that's worst case scenario. You say, okay, cool, this is when the stock market goes, or the SWIFT system collapses, or the internet goes down, or something like that. There's some sort of, because Mercury and Uranus rule the internet, and they rule technology, they rule communication. So let's just say, here we have Venus is in the 10th. From my perspective, Venus is in the 10th in Libra. So that's currency and finances and stocks and markets and all that type of thing. So, and this is not to be doomsday, but just if we look at it energetically, there is this potential here for structures of communication to come under temporary breakage, so to speak. And I mean, that's what jumps out straight away if you look at the chart. But like, if you bring that back to a personal level, and you go, okay, well, how would that look in my life? How would that look in my way of doing things? There's an opportunity to lose connection with really old value systems and ways of looking at things, and normal channels of interplay and communication that we take on a daily basis. There might be a disturbance there, where just for long enough we get taken out of our normal status quo, or our normal kind of routines and habits, for argument's sake, and get an opportunity to look at things slightly differently, and get an opportunity possibly to initiate something new for the first time that we, haven't really had an opportunity because we're so ensconced or so enmeshed in old patterns of doing things. So, like, I mean, in a very positive way, there's a great, you know, opportunity in this new moon to sort of, bring forward or unveil some way of doing something that we've had ticking away at the back of our mind for a very, very long time, because we've finally got the opportunity, or there's finally been enough disruption to our mundane habits or our mundane lifestyle so that we can actually get a bit of clarity or a bit of perspective or a bit of thought for the first time in ages. So it's very, very positive, in that way. But it is, again, it's shaky, like there's disruption in it, like what I see as the real, challenge if we look at this new moon is this difference between wastage and assimilation. And like, so if we look at our life and say, go, right, there's nothing really going, say the boredom complex, go, okay, here's life, ho hum, it's just what it is. There's a degree of taking for granted what's on offer. There's a degree of taking for granted what's really available. And, it's not until we get challenged or something like that we can actually start to look at the resources that we've got available and actually start to actually go, wow, you know what? There's that, or I can do that. Or, we might be overlooking certain things where, if we don't actually break it down into small bits and look at it closely and go, right, what have I got? What can I use? Or what good is in the position that I'm in? That's that assimilation idea of actually, looking closer at what we've got, looking closer at the people in our lives, looking closer at the systems in our life, looking at our habits, looking at our daily routines, and getting more out of them, like yoking them more, even looking at our skills and abilities, like all Virgo things, looking at, what we can do and what we've got to offer. We might take that for granted, but in the face of other people, they might go, wow, that's a really unique skill you've got there. That's a really key ability that you've got there. Why don't you make more of that? Why don't you do more with that? And that's that assimilating or digesting or breaking down, accessing better what's on offer. Whereas if we just sort of cruise along with it, it sort of tends to go to waste. Like it's no one's going to do it unless we do it. Like we can sit and wait for it to happen, but if we're not chewing the biscuit, we're not getting the food in, sort of, so to speak. So yeah, I think that's the key to this. This energy is to really, Virgo in general is to discern, or to digest, or to look closely at things, or focus on the details, so to speak, and not let things sort of go to waste. Even just to go that little bit further, like we can take on so much information, like we can learn this or learn that, or do this or do that, or say watching the news, can focus on this report, focus on that report, but like that's all just taking in information. But unless we're discerning it or using it or making some use of it, or actually getting rid of it if it's no good to us, or like sometimes we could just take on too much of just rubbish, really, and it's all wasted. It's wasted time, it's wasted effort, it's wasted energy. So really, you can do a lot with a very little if you do it properly. Is the key, I
Very
guess.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, sorry to disclaim, like the world's not going to fall into a major
Yeah.
financial
No.
crisis.
No. That's
I don't know. Not to say it is. I guess
yeah.
disclaimer.
No.
Don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
There's
more just energetically.
I love one thing that came to my mind. You said like the fact about assimilation, and it's so important. It's funny, like something like the internet, for example. I mean, 30 years ago, we're sort of roughly the same age. We grew up
Yeah.
without the internet. We grew up without
Yeah.
all the stuff we've got nowadays. And for us, if the internet went down, yeah, okay, it's an inconvenience. We have adjusted, and a lot of our lives are. It's such an invaluable tool for us for work, to be able to sit here remotely and talk to you, and anywhere around the world, to be able to converse with people all around the world, have relationships, and family members on the opposite side of the world that you can talk to and FaceTime, and give them a virtual cuddle, and all those things. The world's a lot smaller, so I'm not saying this to be a negative, but we lived without it, and everything was fine. It was our
Yeah.
perspective at the time. It would be interesting to see. Noticed it was probably a month ago now, when I think all the certain parts of the internet went down as far as the shops and the FPOS and all their systems. So that
Yeah.
caused absolute chaos for the shops and for the retail outlets who have completely gone that way with the best intent, but they didn't have Plan B. They forgot. Let's bring it out. Cash. A lot of companies and retail outlets are saying, well, we don't need cash. We're right, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's great to move with the times, but by having that Plan B, so to speak, that helps your perspective, and not to dive all the way in, because as you said, some things are on the surface are fantastic and you utilize them, and the advancements in the last 20 years is incredible. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if we lose ourselves within that, when it does hit the fan, so to speak, it can give us it can take everything away from us, potentially.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like let's dwell on the doom for a second. I mean, if we dwell on the doom, like the new moon's at 11 degrees, right? So like that's Aquarian. So it suggests technology. Like it suggests like electronics and technology and all those types of things. Now that's in a weird aspect to Pluto, which is retrograding in Capricorn. So the Pluto retrograding in Capricorn tests structures, it breaks down structures to see the strength in them. And the new moon is at an Aquarian or a Uranian aspect to Pluto. So there's this weird, chaotic, unpredictable energy that exists between the energy that breaks down structures to test their strength and the analysis of systems, or systems analysis. So like that in itself just suggests some sort of breakdown to some sort of technological electronic systems, somewhere. And then the messenger, or the planet of communication, is also in hard aspect to Uranus, which is, again, testing electronic communication, or testing the way that communication sort of takes place, or systems of communication. And then Mars in Gemini, which is the action of interplay, or the action of commerce, or the action of exchange, is in a weird kind of disruptive angle to Pluto as well, which could suggest a sudden chaotic breakdown in communications or electronics and systems. So like there's this opportunity there. There's almost this sort of stage set for things to go really haywire, so that we can focus again, so that we can look sharp again and go, righto, here we are. We're so reliant, like you're saying, we're so reliant on communication, we're so reliant on technology, we're so reliant on all these sort of systems that we have in place that, how would we go if they just for a moment weren't there? Like, I mean, how would we go? Like, are we organized enough in ourselves to survive the absence of some sort of external organizational, agent? Maybe not. Maybe this is where we realize, wow, we're all kind of walking around in the polarity, which is the sort of Piscean kind of dream, so to speak. And really, how much of our, like when we were younger, say, Billy, like, sounding a bit ancient now, but like a lot of these things we had to do in-house. We had to, we had to work out what we were doing today. We had to write letters. We had to, pick up the phone and ring people if they weren't there. We had to work out other logistic mechanisms. Like logistics was a far more kind of integral part of our life, whereas in many ways we've relied on external systems for our logistics, like, and the rest we're sort of in a way passively kind of participating in this electronical, logistical system. And if that wasn't there, like, would we just vanish would the world turn into this misty dream space? How would we go? And maybe this is the kind of moon that we're heading into. Like, how are our logistics? How well are we set up within ourselves, rather than being reliant on some sort of external technological kind of matrix, so to speak? I don't know, but it's
yeah.
interesting.
it is, and
The
it's
energy's
it's
there.
so amazing that we've, and myself included here, over the time of our life, we go into autopilot, don't we? We've sort of flow with the times, and as the advancements have happened in our
Yeah,
lifetime, let's face it, the last 20, 30 years, the advancements have like gone almost vertical. They're just happening.
yeah,
You buy something today and it's obsolete tomorrow because
yeah.
there's the next new bright shiny thing out there.
That's it. Yeah,
But
yeah,
so it is advancing, but like you say, we almost go into autopilot, and you make a good point, Martin. To have that logistical brain and or mindset to say, okay, well, if things don't, like the other week when it all got shut down, from what I heard, it didn't bother me. We had enough food in the house. We're not
yeah,
doomsdayers, or we don't. We're not preppers, but we have enough food and a bit of cash on us to say,
yeah,
well, if we go to a service station and their electricity's down, or they can't accept my card, then I've got the
yeah.
cash to pay for it.
That's right.
I've got enough food in the fridge and the cupboards to last us a few days. So we're not
Yeah,
completely reliant. I'm not saying I'm better or any worse than anyone else,
no,
but we do become autopiloted, aren't we? Like we're programmed that
yeah,
we're so reliant on the technology and all the
yeah,
good stuff. It's great, but what
yeah.
happens? What happens? And you're saying that there is every chance, and we are sort of seeing little.
Mm,
The curtain's starting to get a few little holes in it where it's
yeah,
there's a few specks there around the world, and maybe globally, financially, maybe
yeah.
not all is what we think it is, and it's not as secure, and everything will be right. And if it does go a little bit belly up for a while, and it becomes a bit chaotic, how are we prepared for that? And I think it's really important, a really good point that you made.
That's it. Yeah, and it is that it's sort of it's having those structures in place so that when if change does take place, that we still have a sort of resiliency in our own life structures where we're not just cause and effect based in a way. Like it's that sort of ability, whether it be through our own pantry, our own little bit of cash reserve, or just the people we know, the networks we have, like just you know in many ways too, like Virgo logistics and all that is about networks and connections and things like that. Like I don't know, like you think when we were younger, there was human networks, there was human sort of, if the power went off, there was a half a dozen people that would kind of be in touch, you'd be in touch with them. But now if the internet went down, like you wouldn't be able to, how would you even contact people? Like I mean, you'd eventually do it, but the old networks sort of seem to have gravity around them, or they're a little bit more, and not to say they're not existent now, but like it's that sort of it's just recognizing the logistic nature of our life and the structures that we have in our life that could come into focus under a Virgo moon, because Virgo is that. Virgo is organization and structures and those types of things as well. So it's the counterbalance to the abyss, so to speak. It's the counterbalance. It's the clarity amongst the fog. Is Virgo. So it's every, it's there's all likelihood that that energy will be tested.
Yeah,
Like I
and,
mean,
and Martin, I think too, it's not for me personally. It's not about being negative or doomsdaying. It's just
right.
mentally setting yourself up and preparing your life. So, a couple of examples that came to mind was the financial crisis in 2008. Some people
Yeah,
went into absolute panic, and it was horrible for them. Where other people thrived through that period, and not this is about money, but made money and succeeded,
yeah,
and actually exponentially grew their businesses because they were able to adjust, they were able to adapt to what was
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
We go back to COVID 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of
yeah,
people went into absolute
yeah,
a mindset of the world's ending, and everyone's going to die and all that, and other people thrive through that period, and we've seen a lot of changes, and a lot of companies, businesses adapting, so people started working from home because they weren't able to get to work. We were able to adjust generally, and humanity's pretty good as a rule to be
yeah.
able to adjust to whatever's put in front of us. And it's funny
That's it.
how our brains work too, and this is one thing I want people to be conscious of is when things happen, I always say for us, when challenges arise globally or that directly impacts us, it's very easy to go into that survival mode. And that's a natural thing from our Neanderthal days, the research would say. But when we're in survival mode, it's almost impossible to then think creatively and to think of how what's the alternative here. And I don't mean creative as in painting and drawing and music, and I mean like how can we get creative? How can we adjust? How can I rather than react when it all does maybe go pear-shaped, maybe have a mindset, okay, what if, not to be a doomsdayer, not to be negative, but am I right to go? Am I adaptable? Not just physically with food and everything else, but am I an adaptable person, or am I that rigid? Am I that programmed that that my life, this has to work? If it doesn't work, I don't know how to deal with it. From a mental point of view, an emotional point of view, a physical point of view, a literal survival. We all need food, water, etc., shelter. If we don't have that, then that's at the bottom of the pyramid. Then it is really hard for us to grow and expand. And I'd invite everyone to just sort of have a feel into what would you do? How are you living your life? How dependent are you on all these wonderful technology? And it's great to be automated. I just received a book an hour ago from America that arrived in 4 or 5 days. You order it online, you pay for it online, and through the logistics, I didn't touch it, didn't have to worry, it arrives on my doorstep. That doesn't happen if all the technology goes. So like you say, we have to adapt. We suddenly go back to going to the bookshop, which is great, interacting with people, etc. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. There's the pros and cons and the fors and against, and it really is. It's like you say, Billy. I agree totally. Like if we're in fight and flight, if we're in reactionary survival mode, and we're not really. It's just cause and effect. It's just it's reaction. To a degree, it's calculated response and that type of thing. But that we lose track of that more integral side of life. Where we can actually achieve greater ground in that more sort of parasympathetic or rest and digest type mode, if we allow ourselves, we create the systems of I guess resilience to kind of support ourselves in the fluctuation or in the fluxes of life or whatever. That is important to have that, to maintain that our cave, I suppose, our sort of hub of security, or our tribe is another way of looking at it. But just it's that ability to give ourselves the resilience, so that we don't have to just go into straight out frank survival, or at least not stay in there too long, be able to come back and gain perspective and be okay to adapt or let things go or remain a little bit fluid, I guess. And you're right, it's being too fixed, or it's being too too sort of adherent to this is how it's got to be, so therefore anything outside of that is just destructive or it's bad. But a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of being open to change, and it will reveal something greater that's at the other side of it. Everything everything's a blessing in disguise on some level, at some stage. But not to say it's all rosy or sugar coated, but no. It's not over until it's over, really. And humanity, you're right, like humanity is very resilient, it's very adaptive, and there's great potential in any moment with all of us. No, you're right, Billy. That's a good thing. And I mean, if you look at it too, like, I mean, even energetically, say there's chaos and disruption in communications and logistics, like the same energy is highly inventive, the same energy is highly inspired, like it's insightful, it's all these things. So like, where we might see this be at this end of the spectrum, where it's a breakdown of a phone network, on the other hand we've got inspiration and human kind of intuition at its height. So like we there's always a cure. With every dysfunction, there's the cure contained within nature itself, as long as we're in the right orientation to it, I guess. No, you're right. I mean, that's true. It's so true, so true. But no, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's a good point. But like, I mean, if I sort of look at, if we look at even the overall sort of balance of it, like, getting focusing back on that sort of, I guess, fight and flight mode where we can jump into, adaptation or over adaptation and that type of thing. Like that's, there's a challenge there to be opportunistic. So if you look at the caveman days and things like that, where, kind of, oh, okay, there's a degree of cunning that becomes involved, like in that, if you're in that super fight and flight mode, it's about survival, and certain decisions might be made to get around things and that type of stuff. And in many ways, if you look at society as a whole, we're probably in a predominantly fight and flight driven society, in that, if I look at one of the symbols, Saturn's sort of in the new moon, sitting right down on the, bottom of the chart. So I guess there's what's going to be important in this period ahead is structures, like we're talking about, having these structures of resilience, or this reliance on good healthy traditions, or sort of being comfortable or safe within the structures that you've built in your life. And in other words, looking at quality, not quantity, all those types of ideas, I suppose. But there is this notion, by degree, in that, there's this cautionary thing: watch you don't become too engulfed or protected or too sort of shielded by glamour. Like, in other words, it's that glamour idea where, a lot of our illusions in life, or things like that, is these glamours that exist, like, oh, success is really, what is success, or really what is attainment, and all these types of things. That they're essentially ideas. They're essentially a notion that's either been passed on to us, or we've copped off an ad or something like that. But it's this illusion, in a way, that drives our desire, or this illusion that sort of fuels us to kind of pursue something. But really, at the end of the day, when we reach it, or if we attain it, or if we get there, 9 times out of 10, there's despondency again, and you go, oh my God, what's next? And then along comes some other glamour to drive our desire. But like, there's something about this Virgo moon that asks us to look a little bit beyond glamour, to look a little bit beyond the way we're kind of told how it should be, or what the way things are. And in many ways, if we're perpetuating a glamour rather than looking at it realistically, or looking at it for what it is, there might be the temptation to deceive, or there might be the temptation to kind of become on edge, or like, it's this sort of, we might actually be caught in our own illusion at times. And sometimes it's good to kind of look a little bit past that, and go, well, okay, in all honesty, it's not that bad. Or in all honesty, I might be aspiring to something that's not really that good for me, and that's creating stress, or it's that type of thing. So yeah, there is this cautionary tale around just real quality, healthy structures, and healthy, and so oftentimes too, that's tradition. Like, if we look at the concept of traditions, it's just the things that we have in place that are reliable and have proven and held the test of time, and stuff like that. And we might sort of start seeing this, merge through the collective. If there is a precipitation of crisis, or if there is an uncertainty or whatever, there might just be this recognition that, at the end of the day, what's tried and tested actually does hold up. It does stand the test of time, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, I guess.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was out bushwalking on the weekend, Martin, and I was in a rainforest, and I went
Nice.
through this. It was beautiful. But it surprised me, actually, right in the middle of it. So I don't know actually how it happened, but obviously got some weather, and there was a section of maybe 40 to 50 square meters where all the trees were just down. It
Wow.
had been like, all around it, all the surrounds were impact, but or intact, and and I just stood there for about 5-10 minutes contemplating, like, wow, how did that happen? Like, what's going on
Yeah.
here? But it was amazing that life and the ecosystem within all those trees are down, and it will just over time, or whatever chaotic event happened, and obviously they got a storm in or something's happened,
Yeah.
but then suddenly the trees are down, there's more shelter, there's more food for the ground the animals on the ground.
Yep.
It was just
Nature finds
nature
a
finds
way,
its
doesn't
way,
it?
yeah, and it's so
Yeah.
adaptable, and it feeds itself, and because it is, and that stood the test of time. It just
Yeah.
century, well, for millenniums, it happens.
Yeah. I like that too, Billy. Like it feeds itself. It feeds itself. Like when something breaks down, it becomes the food, like compost even, like old dead prunings and that they break down and they become food for new things, like the law of conservation of energy, like everything just recycles and regrows. And I guess the key is, attachment is the main challenge. Like if we hang on to the old and it looks like it's going down, really we're doing a Titanic, we're going down with the ship, like whereas if we can somehow through our perception or through our adaptive response or through our awareness or consciousness or whatever, if we can release from old paradigms or old things and allow the energy or the potential that's contained in that to be reliberated to be used again for something new, like in other words to redirect it or whatever, then that's sort of positioning ourselves well in the cycle of entropy and creation. Like it is. You're right, Billy. Like, and that's probably, that when it comes to, Virgo is an earth sign, and when it comes to physical things or material world stuff, yeah, there's entropy. It's going to break down. It's going to let go. It's going to fly apart. Like it's going to fragment so that the energy can be made available for something greater. And that's probably what's being offered all the time as we move into the future. And I suppose that's the Uranian impulse. When you think of it in context, like the Uranian impulse is the potential for the future, and that always challenges or always creates the opportunity for what is past or what is to become destabilized and break down, so that this new template or blueprint can continue to be realized, like, and some people might call that chaos or disruption, but another way you could look at it is the impetus for evolution or the impetus for growth or the impetus for the future, and it's just how we see ourselves in that. And Uranus
Absolutely.
is, yeah, that's the thing. So it's that
Yeah,
type of thing. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point, Billy.
yeah, and we can learn a lot from nature. Nature
Yeah,
knows that all too well. It has that innate knowledge. The whole ecosystem of a rainforest, for example, or any ecosystem knows that, okay, out of that perceived chaos or destruction, it's going to get better. We can adapt, we can adjust,
yeah,
and all the animals and fauna and flora seemingly know how to do that without giving it a second thought. It's us humans
exactly.
that are sometimes fixated on, well, it's broken. What's going on? How can I adjust? Like,
Mm.
what can I do?
Yeah,
And to be almost excited about, okay, well, that's happened now. Where's all this going? This is an opportunity for us
yeah,
to get creative and have that mindset. Okay, well, wow, what's it going to look like in a month or 6 months or 12 months time?
that's
That's
it.
the
Absolutely. Yeah,
uh,
and I mean, it's the relaxed mindset that is capable of that. Like I mean, you can't actually envision those things, or you can't participate in that process if you're in stress. If you're in fight and flight, you can't actually. It's just not available. That wiring, that mechanism in our humanity is not there. It's not switched on if we're in stress or in fight and flight. And I mean, in many ways too, like that's something to watch for this month. Like, Virgo rules health, and it rules I guess our habits and patterns and daily life and things like that. And there is a lot of nervous system energy in this moon. Mercury square Uranus, and Mercury in conjunct Pluto. So like there's this real, and Mars in Gemini is nervous system as well. So there's this really strong force going through our nervous system. So it's just important to watch, that can play out through our, you know, nervous system through stress or spasm or anxiety, or even through our cardiovascular, like Mercury's in Leo, so that's cardiovascular. So like there's that sort of energy coming through our neurocardiac system. So it's important to allow that to flow, or at least be aware of that, and be flexible and keep hydrated, and be aware that it's important to ground the energy, and literally go hug trees and lay on the ground and put your mat out, do some yoga, like literally get on the ground and earth, and get some time in nature and things like that, to sort of become more cognizant of the bigger picture, and hear the birds sing and all that type of thing. Because it can be quite a sporadic on-off energy at times, I'd imagine, and just, yeah, we can become distracted, lose our concentration easily, all that type of thing. And the important thing too is with this type of energy, I'd imagine, because Virgo is, very concentrated, it's very analytical, it's very, potentially critical, and we can overthink things, potentially in a Virgoan sort of field. Just watch that we don't get too fixated or too focused or too obsessed over things, and have a healthy relationship with release or letting go, or put things into priority, allocate the proper priority to things and all that sort of stuff. And like the big thing is, what you don't go to extremes. The old saying with anything Uranian is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Find the middle path. Like, watch for going to that real extreme. You can actually, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of idea, which I'd imagine in this energy, there's the potential for that, sort of compulsiveness and obsessiveness, and that is there. But it's up to us. We can work out how to direct that energy. And really, I think the best way to work with that, apart from grounding and being flexible and open to change, and not being too extreme and that type of thing, but it's being decisive. Like it's kind of, with Virgo, we can become what they call, get analysis paralysis. Like we can overthink something to the point where it has to be so perfect that we're not even going to undergo it. We won't even do it because it's just impossible to have it that perfect. So we just stop. So that's the first thing you got to watch for, is not to overthink it or overanalyze. Watch for perfection complex and all that type of thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just, yeah, like make decisions. Think of something. If you discern this is what is required, have a plan, get some organization about yourself, and just do it. Don't ponder it too much. Just be decisive, get underway. If it craps out, it craps out. Like have another crack. Rework it, reinvent. There's plenty of energy here to come up with new ideas. Whereas if we get stuck in overthinking it or overdoing it or over analyzing it, we're just going to start going into spasm on some level, and burn out. Yeah. So that's what I would say with this energy, because
That's very timely, Martin. I've had multiple conversations recently with people, and the all different pathways and things that they're going through. But overthinking seems to be a real consistent thing that's going on at the moment with a lot of people, just overthinking. And I love what you said about being decisive, but if I could add to that, and just in my humble opinion, not get too fixated on the result. So if you make a decision and you want it to go a certain way, well, what if it doesn't work out? Because life happens to everybody, and it's not it's not perfect. It's perfectly imperfect. Just stay in the now. And I loved you mentioned the word energy multiple times there. And when we're in our brain, maybe focus more on the energies that we're absorbing, and also sending out, because we're living in that now, that present moment, rather than fixated on the result. And if that doesn't work, what have you failed? Is it successful? And it's as we've said many times, it's the journey along the way that really matters.
And that's that idea of glamour too. Like, I mean, what determines failure? Like, I mean, what determines perfection? Like, I mean, what are we trying to live up to? What standards are we setting for ourselves? What are we basing them on? Like, I mean, rather than actually just experiencing something, we might have this artificial glamour in place of how it's got to look and how we've got to be. And, there with that comes all this expectation and all these yardsticks and all these sort of measures that we put in place. And at the end of the day, like, I mean, we're just in that process. Like, we're actually, glamour is actually creating a complete separation from true experience, like true life experience. And life on some level, at least on the material level, is sensory. It's experiential. It's a process of experience, rather than a process of sort of I guess exalted attainment of some degree. But like, because that's just an ideal. It's 9 times out of 10, if we check what our ideals are, we could be placing enormous ideals on ourselves or on life or whatever. And that's very Piscean, that's very Neptunian, and in many ways Virgo is the opposite of that. So like rather than living in this sort of this glamour of life, just take steps, be decisive, you know, don't read too much into your life, don't sort of raise the bar too much, just get on with it. Yes, have a long-term plan, but make healthy intentions and act upon them, and just get amongst it, and kind of yeah, count your blessings along the way and that type of thing. But yeah, like this really is the Virgo Pisces, paradox that we find ourselves in, is that we overanalyze because of an ideal, whereas really don't be perfect. You can't be perfect to the nth degree. Once you start doing something, your ideal is automatically failing. So just get on with it. Like, I mean, there is no perfect outcome really. There's just an experiential set of experiences. Yeah. So
Yeah,
no, I agree with
and I love
yeah,
Virgo's influence on the we're getting back to earth or down to earth,
yeah,
and
it
having those
is.
earthy qualities, yeah, rather than that,
Yeah.
the marketing on TV, social media, radio, everything is, yeah, it's trying to obviously sell products, but it's trying to teach
Mm,
us or program us into what is important and what it means to be successful, and have a bigger house, have a faster car, etc.
yeah.
But what does all that mean at the end of the day if you don't have true
Yeah.
happiness? And that
That's right.
really, this seems to be a year that I've had so many conversations, all different levels, all different pathways, where people have that perception that their lives are turning upside down. It's that chaos we're talking about,
Mhm.
but it's really making them think, okay, why am I not happy?
Yeah.
What do I need to change? So it's that inner reflection, and I'm having so many conversations
Yeah.
where people are doing that, which is beautiful, because out of whatever's happened, and I say for them,
Mm.
that when it first happened, obviously it didn't go down well, and it wasn't what they were expecting. But they're if you've got that mindset to expand and use that creativeness and not be too fixated on the result like you're talking about,
Yeah.
okay, they're moving forward, and they might not even be able to imagine how good your life could be.
Sort of, yeah, like applying yourself constantly to what's happening, and actually living. I suppose it's that method of application. Because yeah, you're right, Billy. Like otherwise, there's just yeah, aimlessness or the void, or being lost. And in many ways too, like Virgo does this interesting thing, and it's not just during Virgo time. Like there's a Virgo in all of us, there's a Virgo in every part of our chart. We've all got a bit of Virgo going on. But like it's that ability to make space. Virgo essentially makes room for things, or it's that idea of decluttering. You go into a room, and if there's clutter everywhere, the Virgo in us kind of cleans it all up and throws out everything we don't need, and we can make space for something new, that can come into our life. But that in many ways is our intentions. It's setting clear intentions, or it's not becoming completely immersed in the sort of projection of life. So I suppose if you engage in glamour enough, the same energy is confusion, or the same energy is disorientation. Like if life sort of conforms to you, then we really just receive what's coming at us, and we're not sort of in any way creative or constructive in it. And that's where we can actually become sort of disillusioned or caught up in the fog or the mist or the dream of life, without actually being able to manifest or create anything positive. So in many ways, Virgo is the antidote for that. Our Virgoanness is making space, or discerning, or like assimilating, or getting rid of what we don't need, and focusing more closely on what we do have. It's that ability to sort of create shape and structure, and we do that through our habits, our goals, our intentions. It's activating. It's a positive action of mind to put structure and form into life, which if we don't have it, it's a blur. It's an illusion. And it's that chewing gum for the mind idea, where if you just strap in and look at the ads, yeah, of course, life's going to be this endless possibility that never actually happens, because you're just sitting there watching it on TV. And so it's actually going, righto, I've got my goal, got my aim. Here's my steps. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what I've got to get rid of. This is what I've got to welcome in. Here's how I can use this. It's that really active process of discernment, which is the vital step in manifestation, or it's the vital step in realization. It's that earth element. Yeah. So it's
Beautiful.
cool, Billy. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
I dig it. I
All
dig
right,
it. But no,
excellent.
that's awesome, dude. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting month. Interesting month ahead. Yeah. How would I to summarize? I guess. Yeah, basically, set goals, clear intentions. Get organized, be patient, focus on the details. Look at your routines, look at your habits, look at your daily rituals. Can I tidy them up? Can I be more effective? Can I be more consistent? Focus on a bit of solitude, give yourself some time to constructively get away from it all. Creating space for self is, rather than just finding yourself in the abyss, is actually carving out a space of solitude, carving out a space of retreat to contemplate, to meditate, to visualize. That's all very constructive. Look at your methods, focus on your skills, see what are you good at, how can you use your abilities and talents better, like how can you be of greater service to the world. And that's not servitude, that's service. Like what do you do that's really good, and how can you deliver that in a way that only you can. Like that's a really good thing to focus on in Virgo. And yeah, where to from here? Look at your long-term plans, get some ideas. Like where are we going from here? This is equinox. This is where the seeds go in the ground. This is where the summer crops are planted now. So get the seeds in, get your intentions set, and yeah, sharpen your focus and get amongst it. Yeah,
Oh, beautiful,
totally.
beautiful. All right,
Cool.
Martin. Thank you so much today. I've so much enjoyed our conversation, and you always bring the wisdom and from the intellect, but the mind and the heart space as well. And I
Thanks,
love
man.
everything that you bring and you offer and that you're doing. So
Cool.
yeah,
No,
it's
thank
been
you, Billy. It's
wonderful.
always good to be here. Always good to be
Yeah,
here. I always love the chats. No, thank you. Thank you.
excellent.
And
Do you have
awesome.
anything else to finish up with, or you? Yep.
No, all good. Gosh, there's heaps, but we'll leave it here. We'll pick it up next month. But yeah, have a great month, and always good to see you and chat to you. And yeah, all the best to everyone. And yeah, all the best. Take care.
Yep, and once again, Martin's from Arcanum Vita. Martin's not just an astrologist, but homeopath, naturopath. He's got a whole wide range of skills. He's got some wonderful products as well that you can look up on his website. You're just diving into some Indian spices and
Yes. No, a bit of a shout out to
yeah, yep,
Nita from Bombay
Nita.
Spices. If you're into your Indian flavors and cooking, get amongst it. Really good blends and good combinations. Yeah, we're mad for it at the moment. So yeah, just a bit of a plug too. That check out Bombay Spices, and she's this lovely lady that does all these wonderful, sort of aromatic blends, like real traditional sort of stuff. And yeah, just what I find fabulous about it is the core philosophy around home and family, and the role that the kitchen and the meal table plays in our health and in our lifestyles and all that type of thing, which is again very Virgo. It's our life is the quality of our food and what we eat and how we digest and all that type of thing. So yeah, like add the spice to put some spice in your life, and check out Bombay Spices. But
Love it.
yeah, and thanks for the plug too, Billy. Yeah, like we do astro consultations, naturopathic consultations, herbal medicine, lifestyle. Check us out, arcanumvita.com.au, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Arcanum Vita. We do like regular posts on Astro and all that sort of stuff too. But really appreciate it, Billy. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
you're very welcome. No, I love it, love it, love everything you're doing, and yeah, I love what Nita's doing as well. Very,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
like you said, bringing the earthy qualities and bringing us back to what we're digesting, not just food but everything else, and yeah, the simplicity of cooking in the kitchen and making your meal,
Absolutely.
and yeah, taking
Yeah,
in
just
those foods and the aromas that are in spices, and
that's
yeah, love
right.
it.
And I mean,
Yeah,
when you think of spice and the addition of spice to your life, or put some spice in your life, like I mean, it's those little, even on a physical level, it's the aromas or the aromatics. Like I mean, it's that incorporation of flavors and tastes and all those things into your life on a daily basis that kind of set up the terrain for good health. Like right down to the contacts we make, the people we meet, the times we spend together. It's this constant sort of arrival back at good digestion and good mindset and enthusiasm and quality energy and all that sort of thing. So really, diet and the way we eat and what we take in and how we process it and what we let go of and the way we let go of it, it's all this gradual daily approach to life that ultimately contributes to our well-being, rather than just sort of, in a way, letting ourselves go and then trying to correct it when we fall off the rails. It's Virgo kind of encourages us to live wholesomely and digest life, get the most out of life. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Love it. All right.
Cool.
Thanks
Awesome.
so much, Martin. We'll
Billy.
chat to you next month. Thank everyone for listening in, and I hope you enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. So once again, if it resonates, great. If it doesn't, just let it go, and we'll move on. So yeah, have a great
Awesome.
month, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. See you guys. Take care.